We're going to move on to reading of the Torah. And I think this is the bit that most people are in shul for. And this is the bit that when people come for bat mitzvahs, they want to know what's happening, how it's happening. And the rabbi shortly is going to take a little trip to the shul so he can show you. Oh, that doesn't sound good.
Phew, phew. I was wondering where I was being sent. But
Going to go all the way to shul
yeah,
to show you the placing and exactly what takes place there.
yeah.
So what I wanted to show you is just a little bit
Well,
about the prayers that we say.
before you do that, I was going to say a few words of introduction
Yes, go.
because when we read the Torah, we read the Torah 4 times a week. We read the introductory, the first part of the following week's Sedra on a Shabbat Mincha, on a Monday morning and a Thursday morning. And then we read the whole Sedra, the whole portion on a Shabbat morning. The Torah is split into 54 different Sedras, and you'll recall that there are less than 54 weeks in a year. I deliberately didn't say 52 because the lunar year is 353 days rather than 365. And when it's a leap year, then actually this is 383 or 4 days. So that's how sometimes, that's why the Yom Tovim move around. And sometimes we have double sedras, sometimes single sedras. But we read the whole cycle every year. It reminds me of a story that one of my great teachers, Rabbi Beryl Wine, who sadly passed away a couple of months ago, he told the story of it happened in one of the shuls that he was rabbi of. And there they had there, unlike Highgate, they had a women's gallery, a ladies' gallery. And he said that one Shabbos, a lady came in and she, an elderly lady, and she hobbled up the stairs and wasn't familiar with what's going on. So another woman came to help her find the place. And that week's Sedra was the week of Vayeshev, which tells the story of the brothers selling Joseph into slavery, and where he ends up in prison. And interestingly enough, if we connect to the hostages, a number of the hostages, including Emily, have spoken about how they would tell each other the story of Joseph in prison while they were being held hostage. And that gave them a lot of strength during that time. But in Rabbi Wein's shul, they were reading the story of Joseph and how Joseph went to bring his father's message to the brothers, and he ended up getting sold into slavery. And this woman who was a guest at the shul started crying and was very emotional about it, got very, very upset. And the woman next to her helped calm her down. Anyway, next Shabbos, this woman didn't come back, and they didn't see her for another whole year. And then the next year she came, it was the same Sedra again. The same scenario played itself. She hobbled up the stairs, got a seat, was helped by the same woman. And it was the Sedra of Vayeshev again, the story of Joseph being sold by his brothers, and no emotion at all this time. As the woman who was helping the guest said, I don't understand, last year you were very upset for Joseph. Why aren't you upset for him this year? And so she said, well, if he's going to make the same mistake again, that I'm not going to have the compassion therein for him. And he should have learned his lesson from last year. So some also music stuff, but we read the Torah again and again and again. It is our foundational text. When we read stories of people, we do not believe in papal infallibility. We know that although very great, our matriarchs and our patriarchs, we learn from their great points, and we learn from their mistakes as well, on their level, whatever their mistakes were, but they were not infallible, and we learn from them, but particularly we learn from their greatness. And each year, our aspiration is, as we read the Torah, our lives have changed because we're a year older. We should approach the Torah with a new lens, with our whole extra year of experience, and hopefully the stories, the halacha, the law, everything that comes out of the Torah should inspire us even more, and we should understand it to a greater depth each year. Remember, these are the words of the divine. These are the words of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and so they have infinite possibilities as well. And so this is our foundational text. We read through the whole Torah once a year. And before I take you into the shul, I'm going to hand you back to the Rebbitzin.
Thank you. Can you stay? I was going to say, can you stay on? Because when I say the prayers, I wanted you to sing it. Just because when I say Ein Kamocha, it doesn't necessarily mean the same as when you sing Ein Kamocha. You don't have to sing the whole thing, but just like if you sing the beginning,
Okay,
then
but if you could give me a minute to do that, I will go into the shul and get the sound system set
okay,
up there.
fabulous. Okay, so we're going to start off with Ein Kamocha that the rabbi will sing, just because I feel like when you hear it, somebody who's not necessarily so familiar will recognize it. Ein Kamocha is the first song that we sing when when we open the ark. So it's actually before we open the ark. So everybody sings it together, and then the next thing we sing, then we read the Torah, then we have the Haftorah, then we have the Hagbah, which is holding up the Torah, and the rabbi is going to explain that. Then we have communal prayers, and then we have, I can't see because I've got this in between. Then we have bringing back the Torah, and when we bring back the Torah, we sing another song, and hopefully the rabbi will sing it, and you'll know it's called Eitz Chaim, and it's beautiful. Okay, so we're just going to look at the words of Ein Kamocha. That's the first song that we sing when the rabbi's there. Ooh, let's see if he's back. Okay, we'll see. I'm just going to read the English of it. It talks about just imagine we're about to open the book, which is God's book. It's imagine when you go to a speech of the speaker that you've been reading their book for ages, and the speaker's there, and you're all very excited, and it's so meaningful. So we are standing in shul. It's a holy place. There's loads of Jewish people all standing around listening to the words of Hashem. And then we open it up by saying, there is no one like you, God. You are eternal, and your dominion is in all generations. And for me, I feel that when I think about God as eternal, it reminds me that I'm only living in chapter 8, or probably chapter like 3,400, whatever. There's so many different levels of our lives, of the different experiences of our whole people, of our nation, of other nations, of the whole world. And all I know is what I have. All I know is what I can see. All I know is what I learn. So I don't know everything. I don't understand everything. And when I put it back into God's hand, that actually you have a bigger picture. You wrote the Torah. It includes everything in it. Even if I don't always understand it, then it makes me realize I'm standing in the presence of God who was there for Adam and Eve and will be there in the future and is here for me right now. So it's one way of just thinking when you say Ein Kamocha. Rabbi, you want to just sing Ein Kamocha?
Andrew, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. Sorry, it's time to unmute this. Ein kamoyecha v'Elohim Adonai, v'yein k'ma'asecha, malchusecha malchus kol olamim, u'memshaltecha b'chol da'ir v'ada'ir.
Fabulous, fabulous. So now you know what I'm talking about. Okay, the next bit is when we actually open the ark. Rabbi's going to show you. And as they're opening the ark, they sing this. Do you want to sing that, Vayehi?
Vayehi b'nsoy aharon, vayomer Moshe.
Lovely. So if you read the English, let me see. Is Lara still there? Yeah, Lara, are you happy to read the English?
I'll close the ark while you're...
The pressure. Whenever the ark set out, Moses would say, "Arise, Lord, and may your enemies be scattered. May those who hate you flee before you. For the Torah shall come forth from Zion, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. Blessed be he who in his holiness gave the Torah to his people Israel."
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you. So when basically as we're opening it up and we open up the ark, we're remembering thousands of years ago when Moshe was standing there with all the Jewish people who had just come out of Egypt, and he was holding the Torah himself. And as they were walking, they would take the Torah and have times that they were reading and put the Torah back. And we're doing the same thing now with the same Torah, exactly the same words that were used thousands and thousands of years ago. Think about Chinese whispers when you're playing a game with your friends, or your kids are playing a game, or when you were younger and you played a game. And you think about how everything changes over the years. But this Torah is exactly the same Torah that Moshe took I'm still saying the same thing. You're saying the same thing. Across the world, in Australia, in Indonesia, in all countries across the world, throughout the generations, we may be different. Our lives may be different, but we're reading the same Torah. That's quite exciting. The next thing I just wanted to show you, which I didn't know beforehand. So one of the things I really want to thank Lee for asking us to do this because I've learned so much things that I've been saying for a long time and I didn't know, and this is very beautiful. Let me just see who might want. Shosh, are you happy to read? So there's this, before you read, I'm just going to explain. There's this little prayer above at the top. It's called Baruch Shemay, and it's written in Aramaic. And I don't read Aramaic particularly well, so I never get to finish it. By the time they all stand up and say Shema Yisrael, I can't, I don't finish it. So I try and read it in the English. Maybe one day my Aramaic will get better. But when I started reading in the English, it's so nice. It's a whole prayer. Please God, have compassion on your people and help look after all of us. It's a beautiful, beautiful prayer. And then, Shosh, if you're happy to just read at the bottom.
Sure. Blessed is the name. This passage from the mystical text, the Zohar, is prefaced in its original context with the words, Rabbi Shimon said, when the scroll of the Torah is taken out to be read in public, the gates of compassion are opened and love is aroused on high. Therefore, one should say, at this time.
Yeah, basically one should say this at this time.
Sorry.
So when you're standing there and you come to shul and they open up the ark, that this is a special time to pray. So if you ever have a problem or something you're worried about or something for the community, the best thing is to say that prayer in English because it's beautiful, or in Aramaic if you're really good at Aramaic. But even if you can't get to say those words, this is an auspicious time. And I didn't really know about it beforehand. I just thought it was part of the proceedings. And now I'm going to be quiet because it's the rabbi's turn. Go, Rabbi. Sorry, I think I spoke too long. Okay.
Right, so I am going to thank you for that, Robertson. I'm now going to do two things. The first thing I can do is talk about the Sifrei Torah, the Torah scrolls, which we can't actually take out. We only take out, because the Torah scrolls are so holy, we only actually take them out when they're needed for a service. So the first part, I'm going to just show what we have in the Aron Kodesh, and then I will come back to the Bima and show you something on there that will show how a Torah scroll looks like, what it looks like. So when we said Vayehi ben Sarah, and we spoke about it, the Torah coming from Yerushalayim, from Jerusalem, and of course in shuls across the world, wherever they are, the aim is that the Aron Kodesh faces Jerusalem. That's why we face the Aron Kodesh when we daven, because we're facing the holiest place on earth, where we believe that heaven meets earth. And so that's why Yerushalayim is mentioned, and this is the direction we're facing. But in here we have 5 Torah scrolls, each of which has its own incredible history. But you'll notice immediately that the Torah scrolls have wooden holders. See, when we see someone doing Hagbah, they lift it up. The reason for that is because the parchment is so holy, we can't touch it with our hands. And that's why when we are reading from the Torah, we point to it with a yad. The word yad is Hebrew meaning hand, and it's got usually a finger at the end, and you point to the reading as we read it. And because the Torah scrolls are so holy, we decorate them beautifully with a velvet mantle, with silverware. And again, because it's so holy, we don't take them out. Just 2 other things to say before I close the ark. This Torah scroll here belongs to the Kuhlman family. It was actually the only scroll in its shul that survived Kristallnacht. All of the main shul was burnt down. This was the scroll they happened to be using for their Monday and Thursday side minyan. And so that's how it survived. Survived the destruction of Kristallnacht, which is, or Pogromnacht as it's called, which is we're going to remember in a week or so's time. The middle, the central scroll, which we use regularly on a Shabbat morning, that was donated by the community, and it was written about 25 years ago. So that's just the history of 2 of the scrolls we have. I'm going to close the Aron.
Just to say, when the rabbi says Aron, that's the Hebrew word for ark. So I've been using the word ark, and no.
Yes, and we specifically call it a holy ark, or an Aron Kodesh, because it's not just a cupboard. And so we're particular to add the word Kodesh as well. I'm now going to see if we can do this here. This should work. Hopefully you might not see me, but you'll see the show and tell. Firstly, I have in my hand a bottle of ink. I also have a quill, a feather. This is what the Torah is written with. It's written by hand, by a scribe, not by computer. And what I'm going to show you is actually a scroll that I can show you. It's one of the only books of the Hebrew Bible. There are 24 books that doesn't contain God's name. God's name is hinted to it in it very strongly, but it doesn't actually appear. And although I needed to wash my hands beforehand, one can hold it. Unlike a Torah scroll, one can hold it. And I'm hopefully, I'll move the camera in a moment so you can see it. This is Megillat Esther. This is the book of Esther, which we read on Purim. And it is written in exactly the same way that a Torah scroll is written. So hopefully I will take the text on top. Robertson, tell me if you could see.
Yeah, it's just upside down, but it's good.
It's not that useful upside down, so I will do it the other way. Oops.
I'm getting dizzy. It's great.
Okay, is it the right way around now?
Perfect.
Or like that? No, like this?
No. The other one was good. Yeah.
This one?
Yeah.
So it'll take you to the beginning of the Megillah. Now, Hebrew works from right to left rather than left to right. And the very top line, which I will sing, starting from the top, is Vayihi b'mei Achashverosh hu Achashverosh hamelech mehodu vad kush sheva v'esrim mea medino. So that's the first two lines. And you'll see as you go down, every so often there's a gap, and that's a new paragraph. And the Torah reads in the same way as well. Let's say you can see it written beautifully. This Megillah actually belonged to my grandmother's great-grandfather from Warsaw. So it's at least 150 years old. And we don't know whether he wrote it, he got it as a gift, or whether his grandmother's great-grandfather wrote it. But it's got a very special family resonance for us. And you can see it's beautifully spaced out. And if you look really carefully, I don't know if you can see, lines are scratched out. So you can see in between the two columns, you can see this is the early forerunner for lined paper that a scribe is allowed to do to enable the lines to be written as they are. But it's all written by hand, and it's on parchment. When reading the Torah on a weekly basis, we start from the beginning. So a few weeks ago, we started the cycle with the beginning of the Torah, with Bereshis, and we ended on Simchas Torah. That's when the cycle ends. Each week, we divide the weekly reading into 7 portions. And on the end of that, we have a mafter. The mafter was added so that the person that reads the Haftorah can also get called up. And just one final thing before I hand back to the Rebbetzin, the reason the Haftorah was written is a number of millennia ago, and very tragically, this is something that repeats itself through our history. One of our, I think during, perhaps even before Roman times, we weren't allowed to read the Torah. And so the readings from the prophets, from the other books of the Hebrew Bible, were encouraged instead. And the portion from the prophets was always chosen to have some relevance to that week's Torah portion. And so we still have that tradition today to read from the prophets. That's our Haftarah. But now, thank God, we are able to read from the Chumash as well. We're able to read from the Torah itself. Rebbe, I'm going to hand back to you, and then I will go back to sit in the office.
Okay, great. And then you can sing V'zos HaTorah. Do you want to sing V'zos HaTorah?
I guess.
Just because I realized I didn't put that in, but you can pretend that.
Right.
Well, yeah.
So when we read, when we after the reading, we do what's called Hagbah. In Sephardi communities, interesting enough, they do Hagbah before the Leining. We do it afterwards. And Leining is a Yiddish word which means a reading. We lift up the Torah scroll and we say V'zois HaTorah Asher Samoi Shelivnei B'nei Yisrael this is the Torah that Moshe placed before, Lifnei B'nai Yisrael, before the Jewish people. That's what we sing. And then when we put the Sefer Torah back, as the Rebbetzin said, we sing Eitz Chaim Hi, which one of the tunes we do is Eitz Chaim Hi, Lama Chazikim Ba. And it continues as it continues.
Okay, beautiful. So lovely, thank you. So we're very lucky to have a rabbi who has a lovely voice, and I quite enjoy listening. So that was really nice. And so we're just going to move back. I stopped sharing the screen because I wanted to see a bit better, but I'm going to move back to sharing the screen. We are almost done. You've done really well if you stayed awake the whole way through. And if you haven't stayed awake the whole way through, it's absolutely fine because you can listen to the recording for the bits that you might have fallen asleep for. So just coming back to the rabbi showed you about the actual Torah and the Leining. So I was telling you about the bit where they open it up. So they open up the ark, and that's a special time to pray. And then there's the chazan at the time. He is given the Torah. So there's two men who stand, or boys, whoever's turn it is, who stand next to the ark, the holy ark, and they open it up and they pass them the Torah. And while he's holding the Torah, he turns around and he faces the people and he says, Shema Yisrael. You want to sing that one, Rabbi? Oh, you're muted.
I'm back in situ. What am I singing now?
Shema, Shema. You know when everyone says Shema?
But this is when we're taking out the Sefer Torah.
Yes, yes.
Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad.
And then all the people say it together as well. So it's a sort of special moment of taking out the Torah, proclaiming, saying our mission statement, our family mission statement, Shema Yisrael, everybody listen. We're also saying listen because you're actually about to read from the Torah, so it's a good time to listen. And then there's another phrase they say, and then we say Gadlu Lashem Iti, and at that point, the chazan who's holding it turns around and bows, and the whole community bows. And then they bring the Torah around, and they sing a little song as they're bringing the Torah around, and then the Torah is read from. And as the rabbi said, there's 7 portions. It's split into 7 portions. So after that, then they lift up the Torah. They say V'zos HaTorah, and they hold it up. And this is the moment sort of where everybody gets to see the words themselves. These are the words that have been said. These are the words. And we are all kind of affirming that this is the Torah. This is the same Torah that Hashem gave us. And we've been listening to it. And then we bring it back. And just before we bring it back, the chazan actually walks all the way around. You'll notice he walks all the way around the men's. And anyone who wants to, might want to give it a kiss. And obviously, as we said, it has to be covered so you can't touch it straight. And it's sort of everybody gets to feel like it's near us. So actually, the way we do it in Highgate is that we goes one way on the way here and one way on the way back. So any women who want to see it, it comes around the women to see, the women can see, and it also goes around the men. And then when it comes back, we sing a song. So the actual prayer is called Uvenucha Yama, but the Eitz Chaim Hi is the bit that's known. Let me just move on to the next one. Oh, I didn't say this bit. Okay, so just before Eitz Chaim Hi, sorry, I've got 5 minutes, so it's okay. Just before Eitz Chaim Hi.
3 minutes, and we want to be able to take questions.
Okay, 3 minutes. Okay, I'm talking fast. So just before that, the rabbi says Yakum Porkum, and then we have all the communal prayers. So that's when the rabbi prays for Israel or prays for England. Thanks. The king, prays for the king, it was the queen. And there's one little prayer where it says just before that, which I just think it's really important for people to know because it's such a nice prayer. And I tell people, whoever's been working for the community, that if you see the English and you see it in yellow, I'm not going to ask somebody to read because I just have to do it fast. It says, may he bless those who unite to form synagogues of prayer and for those who come there to pray. So we're basically saying, please bless us because we've all come here to pray. And those who provide lamps for the light and wine for the Kiddush and Havdalah. And I'd like to add, thank you, Lawrence, for shining the silver. And thank you for the welfare committee for looking after the people. And then it says food for the visitors, charity for the poor who faithfully occupy themselves with the needs of the community. So this is a point where we basically thank anyone in the community who's looked after somebody else, and who a community is made up of all of us who look after each other. So it's just a nice prayer to read in English, and it's just before they do the prayer for the royal family. And so now we're just going to end off with Eitz Chaim Hi, and it's a very, very beautiful song, and it means that it's a tree of life to those who grasp it. The Torah is a tree of life to those who grasp it. So there's those who grasp it and those who uphold it. So grasping is those people who are Torah scholars. They understand, they know what they're talking about. When they read it, they have higher thoughts because they understand it more in depth. You imagine like a physicist, he's really excited about some complicated physical like experiment, and a regular person might not understand it. So a Torah scholar will understand more. But then we also say that it is a tree of life to those who support it. So if you're part of the community and you help in whichever way you can help, you also have a part. And just like a tree gives shade to everybody, wherever, if you come underneath it, it gives shade, it gives food, it gives life. A tree is wonderful. It gives life. It literally gives oxygen for us to live. The Torah is the same thing. And right at the end, we say its ways are ways of pleasantness. So we need to remember we need to be pleasant, and it's part of peace. And then right at the end, and that's what I will end with. This is our fundamental prayer of please Hashem, bring us. Says turn us back to you. It says ways of pleasantness and its paths of peace. And if you ever are a bit bored in shul and you just look around through the English, you will find the word peace lots and lots of times, because ultimately that's what we're davening for. We want the world to be a peaceful world, a happy world. We want all the nations to be in peace. We're not just only for us. We want the whole world to be a good place and a place of peace. And we're asking for it all the time. And then the last thing that we ask for is, please Hashem, turn us back, O Lord, to you, which means Hashem, bring us home. And how many years we've been asking, please Hashem, bring our hostages home. But the same thing for the whole Jewish people. We all want to come home. We want to be back in the place that we were, where we were serving you with a temple. We were a nation that people respected, that people looked up to, because we were living divine lives. And that's our hope. Please Hashem, bring us home. Thank you. Any questions? Do I have a minute to spare?
No. And when people are thinking of their questions, if they want to stay on for questions, just to say the answer to the question of the second oldest prayer is the prayer for the government in the country you live. That was Jeremiah in the prophets speaks about the importance of praying for the country in which you live. So our oldest prayer is the Shema. Our second oldest prayer is the prayer for the local government. Shabbat Shalom, and
thank you.
We'll see you all soon.
If there are other topics that you're interested in learning about, because next week is going to be the Amida and Kaddish and Aleinu, I think. But obviously there's so many more prayers, and there's also just other things that people might want to know about. And we're really happy to put on sessions like this. So please do, we might send out a little questionnaire or something, but please let us know what you would like to learn, because we're so excited to teach, and it's so lovely to see your faces. Have a lovely evening. Take care, and Shabbat Shalom.